are in my studio. Did you have any clue what you were getting into when you started this project?
No clue.
Would you have done it
no clue.
again if you knew the insanity that was about to be in front of you? Would you?
Unequivocally, absolutely. How much better can it get? You know, I mean, when somebody as talented as you, with an incredible team of musicians, and with a symphony orchestra, which is one of my favorite things to do in life, how can you say no?
So we have David Fink on bass, we had Dean Parks on guitar,
Right.
who has played on every record that you love. And then we have Joe LaBarbera on drums. And Joe was a hero of mine when I was going to the Eastman School of Music, because he had a band back then. And you know, he's just, you know, one of the most fantastic straight ahead drummers. And then we had you. We had you know.
Yes. And that was it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And we had you.
And me.
We decided to only use the flugelhorn.
Yes.
On the album.
This is the flugel. He's good. He's fat.
It's a big trumpet.
He's big. He's got a big belly. I can hide my whole face behind. See, come on. We recorded the rhythm section live. I played live and sang live with the rhythm section. Later went in and patched things up as needed.
We went old school on that.
Old school on that. And you did a mock-up of the orchestra.
Right.
And we recorded the orchestra over the internet. Go figure. Go figure.
It was unbelievable.
And what was that like for you? The first time we went into this little studio in the back of a house, and on the other side of the ocean, there is a 52-piece orchestra.
51.
You told me 52.
51.
I wanted 52.
Well, you got 51. We didn't pay for the.
I thought there was something missing. These are some of the best songs that I can ever remember hearing. I mean, and some of them I've never heard before until we started looking for material.
Right.
Especially Plus je t'embrassais.
Right. Well, that was kind of a fluke. I mean, we were...
I'm singing in French on the record. I don't have a clue what I'm saying, but Philippe taught me how to sing it phonetically. Yeah. We found that song.
Right. So Blossom Deer, we were actually looking for different type of performances of another song. You know, we had done Lucky to Be Me, and we saw her performance, and thanks to YouTube, here comes a bunch of other videos of hers.
Yes.
And I just noticed the French title.
Yes.
Plus je t'embrasse, and I thought it was peculiar because I didn't know that she had sung in French. So we clicked on it, and then we heard the performance, but the song was a jazz French song. Go figure.
Well, let's talk about the first track, the opening track on the record.
Time after time, I tell myself that I'm so lucky to be loving you.
Time after time, not the Cyndi Lauper version, you know, but the Julie Stein, Sammy Kahn version of the song. And it's a great lyric. It's a fantastic, fantastic song.
Oh,
The Good Life.
Good life, full of fun, seems to be.
Is a song that is absolutely owned by Tony Bennett.
For the American audience, that song is, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously Tony. But for French people,
Which
you are, which I am, it's not Tony that comes to mind. It's Sacha Distel, who actually wrote the song, the original song. And Sacha Distel was the quintessential playboy, handsome jazz guitar player. You know, he dated Brigitte Bardot and had the most fabulous, you know, girlfriends, wives, whatever, and every winter he'd be skiing in Chamonix, and always the the constant tan, right, all year, you know. But anyway, and he was a great musician, a great jazz guitar player. So he wrote that song, just like, you know, My Way is another song where most American people think that My Way is actually, it was a French song originally. But yeah, so that song was a big hit when I was growing up, you know, in the 60s in France. And Sacha Distel was always on variety shows on television. And whenever he would start that song, that's the first, you know, the melody. It's one of those songs that don't really have, it's like Over the Rainbow. It doesn't really have a chorus, it doesn't have a verse or whatever, but it's got this melody, and the first 4 notes are completely, totally identifiable.
Yes.
And as soon as you get those notes, it's magic. You're there.
Yes.
You know, and that song has always had that for me. You brought something that's absolutely unique, because not only do you you know, it opens up with the flute, which is different, you know, from the rest of the song, but then you come out singing at the end.
Yes.
And that, to me, the most incredible, you know, payoff to the song, because you would not expect.
I didn't expect it. In fact, did you intentionally try to mess with me with the modulation you threw in there? Because picking that note out after I'm playing the trumpet was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Well,
Was that like a payback kind of thing?
No, it's not like that at all. No.
So we have, really, again, we have like the Sacha Distel, who was really like his own Rat Pack over in France. And then we have, so there's that whole Rat Pack mentality going on, regardless of which side of the. Do you think when Sacha Distel was skiing, you know, he was scared at all of Claudine Lauget? Well, I have to say, man, that this version that you did, it was an honor to sing on and play on, and I just think it's a classic, and you know, just beautiful. We had Al Schmidt mix the record. You know, and that was a whole other story in itself, because I'm on the road and Al Schmidt is in Capitol Records mixing the record, and I'm playing concerts in Florida, sitting with John Lusser, and you're sending me mixes from Capitol Records, and Al Schmidt is on the phone telling me, and I'm so nervous about this, because, you know, Al mixed Diana Krall. He's mixed Michael Bublé, hasn't he? He's mixed so many hits. I mean, I can't begin to tell you.
Once upon a summertime.
My history with Michel Legrand starts when I was in like 8th grade. And I remember it was one of the first times that I went to see an orchestra perform, and it was the Robin Hood Dell Philadelphia Orchestra was playing, and Michel Legrand was the special guest, and it was really an evening with Michel Legrand, and he was doing the Summer of '42 and, you know, all of those great motion picture themes that he had written. And when you brought this song to me, I have to be honest, I wasn't that familiar with this song, but it's instantly recognizable as Michel Legrand.
Yeah.
You know, and the song we're talking about is Once Upon a Summertime. And you've recorded this on your CD as well.
Yeah, I've done a version of it,
and you
my
played
trio.
that version, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So when it came time to do this song, I think you need to let us know about your history with Michel Legrand and your, you know, the kind of relationship you have with him. And I know that you were really nervous about doing this song because you wanted it to be special.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, and I have a very similar story to yours. I remember as a kid going to the Olympia in Paris and seeing a performance of Michel Legrand and Caterina Valente. Both of them at the same time, duetting and whatever, and the full orchestra in the back, and at some point, you know, so most of the things were just singing with her, but on the second part of the show, this screen comes down in front of the orchestra, and they start projecting some footage from all the movies that he did, and here comes this medley of Summer 42, the Parapluie de Cherbourg, Les Demoiselles de Rochefort, I mean all his movies, and he's like conducting the orchestra from the piano, and I'm looking at this and I said, that's what I want. He's my hero. That's what I want to do. This is like the greatest thing in the world, you know. And then he went on and did some more things. So he's always been, as a kid, somebody that I always looked up to, because he's just, you know, he writes, he composes, you know, he plays jazz, classical, whatever.
This record was done, really, it's an international record. If you know anything about vibraphones, Gary Burton is the guy. And Philippe Saisse, as it turns out, was one of his most promising pupils on the vibraphone.
I consider Gary to be like my second father. He's just taught me everything that I know about improvising and jazz and obviously vibraphones. But it goes beyond vibraphone, because I've adapted everything that I've learned from him.
Yes.
And he's primarily responsible to have kept me in the country, because my parents sent me to Berkeley just to go for a summer semester. And then when the school was over, I was going back to Paris, and Gary said, well, what are you going to do now? I say, I'm going to go back to Paris. And he said, no, you're not.
So it's Gary that I should thank.
Absolutely.
You have the keys to Paris. I have the keys to a 1994 RV that's sitting outside. But that old RV and the trips I've taken, listening to Tony Bennett and listening to Frank Sinatra, Rosemary Clooney, and just the feeling of this music, you know.
Yeah, no, it's important, and I really wanted to feel like an 80-year-old arranger, and not try to, you know, bring today into the song. You know, I really wanted to be idiomatically correct again, but from the point of view of the style of the day and the way to approach the string arrangements and everything, and maybe we've captured the era.
Yeah.
It's like driving back in time, traveling back in time.
And it's just romantic, and it really captures the mood of the lyric, because really these songs are about lyrics, and they're about the sentiment of the song.
Right.
And you really did a fantastic job, Philippe. I'm so excited for people to hear this record.